especially as a young band these days, when you're putting your first record out, you want to make an impact. And I think we were
Hmm.
really focused on doing that. And I think over the last few releases, we've kind of found our groove with that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of come more naturally versus us trying to like focus on that solely. And we've been able to kind of focus on more elements of the songwriting versus just the intensity level of it, while still bringing that.
Dan, thank you so much for being here after a brutal 2023 and 2024 for you guys. You were like, okay, let's do all of that again in 2025. How tired are you?
Yeah, yeah. What's up, man? Thanks for having me. Honestly, kind of always tired, especially because I'm in my 30s now. So it's kind
I'm in
of
my
part of the game.
40s, dude. It's only getting worse.
Yeah, you look great, man. Um, but yeah, man. Yeah, we just try to keep the grind going, keep the music coming out year after year. So yeah, I appreciate
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are so far a band that you've been on a crazy schedule. Like it's you've got albums, you got EPs, and it does seem like you're not really taking a break. I hope you guys are taking enough breaks so you don't get burnt out or anything like that. But uh, you're not only just releasing an EP soon, which comes out March 7. You're one of those rare lucky bands these days that actually gets to start touring when the new EP comes out. I think you guys are starting the day before the EP comes out, because most bands these days, you release an album, that means that for a whole day you all just sit behind a computer and liking comments and responding to stuff, and it's very much a digital thing these days. You guys get to actually
Sure.
celebrate your release on the road with your fans. That must be fun. We're looking forward to that tour, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's our first tour of the year, so that's always cool. And yeah, the EP comes out the second day of tour, so we'll be on the road by then. We're going to play the whole thing front to back, so the people the day before will get to hear the whole thing, which
Nice.
is a kind of treat for the people on the first day of tour. And yeah, we're excited to play those songs live, and excited for the tour with Traitors. So there's a lot of positives there.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. It's gonna be a wild ride too. Like but you start early March, like we said, and it goes well into April. Um,
Yeah,
it's gonna be hectic, and I mean, I've had a chance to listen to the EP already, obviously, and not unlike we're used to by now of your music, but these four songs, they're a bit of a workout to play, I would assume. It's high intensity from start to finish. You already shared you're gonna play those four songs, but what else can we expect from this? Because you're for a band that's still a young band, you've got quite the back catalog already at this point. So for somebody going to check you out for the first time on this tour, what can they expect?
sure, man. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna play like we said, we're gonna play the whole new EP, and then yeah, we have a 40-minute set on the tour, so we're gonna try to squeeze in as much of the fan favorites as we can. Probably pretty much a little bit, a couple songs, one or two from each record, honestly. So something off Everything Bleeds, something off our Alone in Death EP, the Codex of Flesh. We're not playing anything off the first EP. We just finished tour honestly like a month and a half ago
Hmm.
with our first headliner. So we played something, a couple songs off of the first EP on that. So we're kind of putting that one back to rest for a little bit.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
playing a lot of new stuff and a lot of just the crowd favorites, and yeah, it's a pretty dynamic set list, and I'm sure it won't let people down. So I'm excited. We're probably gonna like release that right before the tour starts, just to give people kind of an idea of what the show's gonna be like. So yeah, it's gonna be a sick set list and a sick tour. We're excited.
That first EP that you mentioned, the first record also. From every release, we've seen always like a bit of an evolution with you guys. You haven't stuck to a very specifically defined sound necessarily, but
Yeah.
whether or not I'd love to get your opinion if you agree on this with me, but it feels like the band over time is a little bit less concerned about showing everything you can do as fast as you could possibly do. Where maybe more technicalities in the early stuff, and just a little bit more playing on that atmosphere and vibe and groove going later. Is the band today, to use an overused word, like you're more mature, like you want to be a little bit less show offy in a way? And I don't mean that as a negative thing, but we can tell how this music has evolved over the years, right? Like
Sure.
what has fueled that?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think when we put our first record out in 2018, The Prophet of Disgust, I mean, there's so many killer bands out there these days. We were just trying to do our thing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
one of those things that we really tried to focus on. And thankfully, we've been able to keep going. But that was just, be as just in your face and relentless as possible. And I think
Yeah,
we've just been able to kind of fine tune how we do that a little bit. Um, and just make it more organic, honestly,
yeah.
so it doesn't come across as us just trying to be only that. So
Mm-hmm.
kind of like what you were saying as far as like the maturity aspect of it. I think that is just like us just figuring out how to do that like the best way possible, so we can keep that intensity, but make the songs kind of more approachable almost and more
Yeah, yeah,
listenable to just metal fans alike. So yeah, it's been a long process trying to figure that part of it out, but thankfully we've been able to kind of hone in on that, but also like keep that sound going the whole time.
yeah. I do you less overthinking maybe these days, where before you were like, oh, we have to do this, and this, where now it maybe you kind of maybe more naturally feel what works.
I think that's probably part of it. Yeah. I mean, like I said, when especially as a young band these days, when you're putting your first record out, you want to make an impact. And I think we were
Mm-hmm.
really focused on doing that. And I think over the last few releases, we've kind of found our groove with that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of come more naturally versus us trying to like focus on that solely. And we've been able to kind of focus on more elements of the songwriting versus just the intensity level of it, while still bringing that. So yeah, I think we've just gotten better at it as we've
Yeah, yeah.
grown, just got more experience.
One of the evolutions is how, for deathcore, the the singer's voice has become almost the most important instrument,
Yeah,
and we see a lot more adventurous exploration of vocal work in deathcore, and also with you guys, right? And for on this new EP, I think was a decapitation ritual. The last song on the EP is, I think, where we get like a lot of that like dynamic vocal approach. You're gonna be touring heavily March and April, crisscrossing a lot of territory. You could still play in like extremely cold places, and a few days later in warm places, and all these things impact voices more than other instruments. And a lot of deathcore singers tell me that they know every brand of cough drop and what have you to keep your voice in order. For you, what's your routine like to keep your instrument working?
sure, man. Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we've been touring pretty heavily for the past going on 5 years now. So
Yeah.
I've had a lot of time to just gain experience in that realm. Um, But yeah, I've been fortunate, honestly, personally. I've never like really struggled with stamina on tour or anything. And I usually kind of go through like a phase where, the first week of tour, you're kind of like finding the groove.
Yeah.
And your voice is a muscle, just like, any other muscle in your body. So for me, like once I kind of get it warmed up, so to speak, after
Mhm.
a week or 10 days, it's kind of just it's not a huge worry for me to try to get kind of into that zone. And yeah, I think as far as that goes, it's just an experience thing a lot of the time, and figuring out how to you know uh use your voice correctly and let your microphone do the work, so you're not trying to overpower things and
Right.
such. So yeah, it's just kind of a trial and error thing with that. And there's a lot of caveats to that. So, yeah, thankfully we've just been able to be on the road so much over the past several years. So it's kind of just second nature to me at this point.
Yeah,
And
yeah, 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 yeah.
our last tour was uh, November into the middle of December. So, and we were all around the U.S. So we kind of experienced that range in environment and warm climates and colder climates. I mean,
And
the first day of
altitude.
tour, yeah, the first day of tour was in Colorado Springs, and it was there was a blizzard here the day before, and it was probably 10 degrees. And then 2 weeks later, we're in Southern California, and it's like
Yeah, yeah.
in the 70s. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that, but it's every day is different with that, and yeah, it's kind of an adventure with that sometimes. And some days you might be a little sick, especially if it's the winter, and some days you might feel great. But really, it's just a matter of kind of getting into that like zone, whatever that is, vocally, and just try not to overdo it and just do your best every day. So I think that just comes with a lot of experience, honestly.
Now, for a band that is on the road a lot and that is very active and building out this band and brand, you're in the studio a lot. You have to do stuff like this a lot. That doesn't always give you a ton of time to work on new stuff. So, given that you are putting out so much output in short time, like, are you a band that like continues to write every free second on the road, or like material for EPs that come in between albums? Is some of that, did that already started with previous writing cycles? Like, where do you find the time, and how much of Everything Bleeds, for example, seeped into the CP?
Sure. I mean, going back to what you just said, I think almost zero everything bleeds seeped into this new record. We kind of like wanted to start fresh with that,
Hmm.
and kind of going back to the first thing we were talking about, we just kind of wanted to focus on bringing like the most evolved version of Crown that we
Yeah.
could, while just like really focusing on that raw intensity. So kind of combining like what we've learned and then trying to almost do our first EP again, if you will.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we've been on the road a lot the past few years. I think last year we played just over 100 shows between the tours and the little runs we did in between that. So it's always a struggle to kind of like schedule things out, but we have to do it at the end of the day, and we enjoy it too. So yeah, as soon as we figure out the schedule, I mean, for example, our new EP Punishment isn't even out yet, and we've already started kind of writing and planning for the next record.
Right,
So
right, right.
pretty much once you stop one, you start the other, and it's a constant flow of that. So yeah, it can be a little challenging finding time in between touring, but it's kind of like a continuous thing that we're always on top of. And yeah, and for this new record, we like I said, we just kind of wanted to not overthink it, kind of like what you were saying earlier. We just
Yeah.
wanted to bring the newest, most current version of Crown, but kind of with our old style of thinking, with just like not trying to overdo parts and just focus on like the intensity and the heaviness and do it the way we can do now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And EPs allow you to kind of like do something a little different, if you will. And we do get like the one thing that unites these four songs is the intensity. Like there's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
It's a high octane, a group of songs. But they're all different, right? They all bring different vibe. So is there
sure.
something of this EP that when you're now already thinking about, or not only just thinking, writing for the new album, the new full length album, are there things that you're trying out for this EP that you feel like that's stuck and we should expect more of that on the next album?
Yeah, totally. I think we wanted to really try to like bridge the gap as far as what we've done as a band between like death metal and deathcore.
Yeah.
Still always want to have like the really like deathcore, slam, breakdown parts, but really wanted to kind of like achieve a more like death metal vibe almost on this
Right.
record. Um, just with it being fast paced and the kind of the composition of the songs. But yeah, I think that's kind of the cool thing about doing an EP is that, especially with this one, it's only 4 tracks. So you really get to focus in on each one a lot more
Hmm.
and kind of flesh out the vibe behind each song. And that was really cool to do because we've done EPs before, but we've
Yeah.
never done 4 songs. And I really enjoyed doing that just because, like I said, we got to really focus in on each song and make it kind of its own thing on the record, but while still having everything connected. So it was really cool to just be able to kind of make kind of like one concisive like statement with these 4 songs instead of being like, okay, let's try to do something a little different on this song. If you have 12 songs or whatever, you want to kind of branch out a little bit and make the record dynamic. On this record, we were just like trying to do one thing basically, and we were still able to accomplish that while still being able to give each track its own identity. So, yeah, I'm really stoked about this record. I think it's the best songs we've ever written. Really excited to get the next 2 songs out to everyone, and really excited to play them live. So, yeah, it's been a good all around, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also having the chance for fans to get merch of that really cool artwork that you got for this EP as well, because that came out really nice as well.
Thank you.
This release, with Unique Leader as a label that like in the world of like smaller underground labels has become one of those labels that is almost like for people like an automatic like quality check. Like they've been putting out some really, really cool stuff. Not always necessarily the kind of music that you play.
Sure.
What's it like working with a label like that? Because it is almost like just like a stamp of approval, like a badge of quality that a lot of people in the industry, and not just the industry, but like fans, like there's people that will just buy new stuff from specific labels because they trust those labels. What's that like for you guys in that partnership right now?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think if you're into extreme music, Unique Leader, like they're
Hmm.
low key a legendary death metal heavy record label. It's been an honor to work with them over the past few years. The roster they have currently is awesome, and they have a really great alumni of bands that they've worked with over the years. So, yeah, I mean, I remember when we signed to them originally in 2021, we were so excited, and yeah, it's been a positive experience ever since then. And yeah, I think it just gives like you said, just gives your band kind of a stamp of approval that you're gets to be
Yeah,
part of that.
like some street cred, if you will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of legendary bands that have been on the label, and there's
Hmm.
some really killer bands currently, besides us that are on Unique Leader, To the Grave, Peeling Flesh. You still got the OGs like Disentomb and whatnot. So, yeah, it's been so super sick to be part of this record label. And yeah, as far as the merch goes, like thankfully they've always had a bit of a hand in like helping us with that. And for this release, part of our pre-orders, one of the things we've never really got to do because we've always done, full lengths or just more songs. We have like song specific items, so merch
Hmm.
designs kind of individually based off of each song. So it just is kind of a different thing we've never done before, and gives us a chance to be a little bit more creative in that realm
Yeah,
of
yeah.
things. Yeah, Unique Leader is great. They're, like I said, legendary record label. And yeah, it's always been a great part to be a part of that family.
Dan, it's a super super fun EP release, and it's a word that I think we should be allowed to use as well, even for something as serious as death metal.
Absolutely.
It's just a ton of
Yeah.
fun, and I have a feeling that all 4 songs will go over live quite well when you play them for a crowd. Can't wait to see content coming from those shows, so that we can follow along. And I do hope that I get to see you guys play in 2025 on a stage, whether that is for me coming to the States, you guys coming up to Canada or somewhere in Europe, and we're both there, who knows. But an exciting year for sure. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and looking forward, just like yourself, to seeing all the reaction of all the fans on the EP once it's out completely in March.
Of course, man. Thank you very much for having me. We're excited for the record, and we're excited to be back on the road here in like a month. So yeah, it's going to be a good year.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.